Hi guys, hold on for a second. Before we proceed to the video, I have something very important to tell you. Professor Jon V. Kofas has published his new book in collaboration with Little French Media, and the title of the book is Neoliberalism, Inequality, and Authoritarianism. This book details how neoliberalism impacts the geopolitical economy in the 21st century. You can buy it from Amazon, and the link is in the description. Thank you. Now let's proceed to the video.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this overview of a video session I did on human nature and war. And I'm doing this overview, this summary, in order to invite all of you who are interested, given the fact that we have two major wars, we have also have smaller conflicts globally, as well as provocations in a number of areas. And the human nature aspect, which is the focus of the session, is to determine, to deconstruct, I should say, whether indeed there is an innate propensity in human nature to welcome war, or what many scholars call structural violence. There is no evidence in the history of civilization, from the earliest civilization in Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq, in the city states of Sumeria, to the present, that we have human beings um, leaning in favor of mass destruction and welcoming mass destruction, including the destruction of property on a mass scale, as well as civilians, including, of course, children. And those of you who have studied history of wars, it isn't just today that civilians are targeted in many respects, deliberately, by the way, but throughout history of civilization, both East and West, we have this sort of situation. Decisions to go to war are not made by the laity, by the average person. It isn't some small farmer out there during the Roman Republic that decides to go to war against Carthage. And it isn't a merchant in 5th century Athens that decides to go to war against Sparta. And it isn't a steel worker in the US who decides to carry out proxy wars in through NATO, and more directly through NATO in Ukraine, and more directly in Israel. The decisions are made at the highest levels with the consultation of various influential elites. And this must be kept in mind, that decision makers are among the elites. It is not the average person. Ever in the history of civilization have average people conducted policy and decided to go out to war. That's unthinkable. So there is no evidence, there is no scientific evidence that human nature has a propensity toward mass destruction, including killing babies and killing children and killing women, killing civilians. Now, a number of scholars, as I point out in this video, have argued that that wars result in the destruction of civilians, in many cases deliberately so, by the way, deliberately so, and that indeed the victims of war, period, are civilians. This is a position with which I wholeheartedly agree. The fine line, of course, is the deliberate policy to, excuse me, to target civilians, and on the part of government carrying out war, and of course, to prove that is indeed the case, to have tangible evidence. And this is obviously becomes today, of course, this is a legal issue, which is decided by organizations like the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice. I invite you to look at this video. It takes an overview of human nature and war from a philosophical and also a political and economic perspective, sociological perspective, from ancient times, but especially focusing on what is happening today in the 21st century in Ukraine and Israel. This is a very important topic, given that this week the United Nations is in fact debating the issue of war and stability and peace. I thank you for listening, and again, I ask you to take a look at the video, write comments, and by all means, by the way, become members, subscribe, that is, to this channel. It's an educational channel, and receive notices. Thank you very much.